Welcome. I'm so glad that you joined me today. Every experience begins with a thought, and our experiences change when we change our thoughts. So in this series, we will focus on the thoughts and emotions relating to special meridian points that are located along the sides of the spine corresponding to the vertebrae. They're called the Huatuojiaji points, and each point connects to a specific area of your body and nervous system. We will be working on opening the Huatuojiaji points along the spine to increase qi flow and activation of the nervous system. So your body has access to all the life force and information it needs to heal itself. I will help you do this through Qigong healing and the use of forgiveness and affirmations. T3 is easily blocked and often overlooked. It is an area that hides what does not want to be addressed. Opening these points and allowing qi to flow freely down helps to disperse the inner chaos, the deep pain, and the inability to communicate that leads to lung and lymphatic problems. Lung cancer patients often have a deep knot on the T3 on the side of the tumor. So for those who have frequent infections, colds, and flu, opening the Huatuojiaji points of T3 and changing the way one interacts with life will help improve health. It can also inhibit the flow of the heart chakra and our ability to forgive and be open. By clearing the stagnant energy in each point and infusing it with life force energy, your body will have what it needs to correct and harmonize any dysfunction that has accumulated over the years. Life happens, and whether we choose it or not, it can have a great impact on how we live our lives or view our lives. We will identify areas where energy is inflamed, stuck, stagnant, and refusing to flow because of old beliefs of dependence, controlling experiences, shame and humiliations, fears, stories, people, lifestyles, attitudes, and demands. We will focus on beliefs that your mind is ready to embrace or release, where it is ready for change, progress, and transformation. So embrace these thoughts. Feel them deep within your body, your mind, and your soul, and allow them to penetrate deep into your heart. You are absolutely worthy of every virtue. You are worthy of every life-giving belief. As you hear these statements and let them into your heart, they will transform you gently, profoundly, and bring greater and higher good in your life. So take a deep breath, and we will start. You can place your hand on your chest, touching the two fear points with your thumb and index finger. The spots may be tender. You can hold your hand there, or you may massage the points if they're tender. The important thing is supporting those points with your energy through the palm of your hand. Or you can hold your hands in a prayer position at your heart space. This is particularly effective if you're holding rare earth magnets with the South Pole facing your right hand. Or use a piece of quartz crystal, jade, or selenite. So imagine looking into a mirror and looking into your eyes and talking directly into your soul. In this moment, say this maxim to yourself with the care and compassion that you would give to the most apprehensive of beings. So repeat after me. Take kindness and benevolence as basis. Take frankness and friendliness to heart. Speak with reason, treat with courtesy, act with emotion, and accomplish results. Now we'll say it one more time, but this time we'll speak it into the T3 vertebrae, the thoracic vertebrae, increasing the life force with honest kindness and respect for its importance and its place and its function in your body. So take kindness and benevolence as basis. Take frankness and friendliness to heart. Speak with reason, treat with courtesy, act with emotion, and accomplish results. We will breathe after each statement, consciously creating new pathways of response and allowing the energy to freely and lovingly flow. So carefully listen to each statement. Try to repeat after me in your mind. I give myself permission to bring up and address the unconscious beliefs that have kept me stuck in patterns of response that bring harm to myself and others. Breathe. I give myself permission to forgive the people and institutions that have influenced my beliefs when they have encouraged distorted ideas, even when they believed it was good. And breathe. I forgive those in my life experience so far who intentionally or unintentionally caused me harm because of their own broken and distorted interpretations of life. And breathe. I forgive myself for my incorrect interpretation of the love and care offered to me by those who truly wanted to show love. And breathe. I ask others to forgive me when I have hurt or caused them harm because of my mistaken interpretation of reality. And breathe. I forgive myself for any resistance that I have toward embracing all that is good, lovely, and precious. Breathe. I forgive myself for my intolerance of myself and of others, especially when chaos is present. I forgive myself for believing that miraculous transformation, healing, change, and opportunities only happen after long, toiling effort, self-degradation, or that they don't happen for me. And breathe. I embrace all opportunities, gifts, and love that flow to me without hesitation or skepticism, but with thankfulness and gratitude. And breathe. I give myself permission to surrender and allow for the highest and greatest good to come to me, transform me, and remake me. And breathe. I forgive myself for distorting my alignment with myself, with the great Creator, and with great nature, because I do not know my true self. And breathe. I give myself permission to accept my true self and clear the blockages that keep me distorted in my physical health, my emotional health, my social health, and my spiritual health. And breathe. give myself permission to take responsibility for whatever comes into my presence with gratitude and calmness. Breathe. I forgive myself for knowingly or unknowingly creating the emotional and physical patterns that block my flow in connection to myself, heaven, earth, or humanity. And breathe. I give myself permission to grow and evolve by giving up the stories of the past so that the universe can write new ones. And breathe. I love and accept myself now as I begin to understand and accept the corrections to any false programming and beliefs that I might have received as a child. And breathe. I love and accept myself as I align myself to think and feel in a way the universe thinks and feels, accepting the miracles that flow through me, around me, above me, and below me. And breathe. I love and accept that the universe is highly flexible, and I can be too. Because when I'm flexible, which is in harmony with the universe, I am open to the infinite possibilities, and then possibilities will appear. And breathe. I forgive myself for not embracing and taking in the abundance of life. And breathe. I forgive myself for being afraid to fully take in all of life. And breathe. I forgive myself for refusing to fully take in life. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing I don't have the right to take up space or even to exist. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that I have to take in as little as possible in order to hide and be unnoticeable. Breathe. I forgive myself for holding myself down and not fully engaging in my life. Breathe. I forgive myself for believing that sadness and grief must fill me and be honored before I can be filled with what I enjoy. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that I can't be filled with happiness and joy until I honor the pain and grief in the world. Breathe. I forgive myself for believing that if I truly take in and allow myself to be filled with joy and happiness, it will take away from someone else's fulfillment. Breathe. I forgive myself for believing it is easier to feel depressed and sad than to engage fully with the wonderment of life. and breathe. I forgive myself for believing I have to be perfect to receive all that life has to offer me. Breathe. I forgive myself for letting old patterns of grief stagnate and grow into problems that are bigger than the original issue. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that I have to nurse old hurts and shocks of the past in order to keep their story alive and growing within me, taking up space that could be used for good. And breathe. I forgive myself for allowing myself to build structures of remorse to remind me and everyone around me of what I'm unwilling to forgive and let go. And breathe. I forgive myself for barking at the world rather than letting go of old hurts. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that the only way people will see me and acknowledge my existence is to whoop and holler about my hurt. And breathe. I forgive myself for communicating my needs, wants, and desires in backhanded or illogical ways in order to prove that people don't listen to me. Breathe. I forgive myself for not being frank, straightforward, and upfront in my communication. And breathe. I forgive myself for keeping my family environment inflamed with arguments and yelling in order to feel heard. Breathe. I forgive myself for creating situations that justify my lack of ability to easily take in joy and love. And breathe. I forgive myself for requiring an inflamed environment within me and around me so that I don't have to be responsible for communicating with kindness. And breathe. I forgive myself for silencing myself and others by cutting them off and me off as a means to solve my communication issues. Breathe. I forgive myself for speaking from my pain instead of speaking from my heart. Breathe. I forgive myself for not centering my mind on the true essentials of life. And breathe. I forgive myself for all the times I have not acted with kindness towards others. And breathe. I forgive myself for all the times I have not acted with kindness towards myself. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that being alive is a curse to be hated. And breathe. I forgive myself for responding to life with hatred and anger. And breathe. I forgive myself for refusing peace. Breathe. I forgive myself for not allowing old emotional wounds to heal. And breathe. I forgive myself for being tired of life when I refuse to let go of the heavy burdens that define my life. And breathe. I forgive myself for not being willing to let go of my experiences of hurt in order to create better and happier ones. Breathe. I forgive myself for cluttering up my life with tales of woe until I can no longer take in the beautiful, wondrous, and happy experiences of life. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that there are some things and people that I can't take in ever. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that there are parts of the universe and great nature that I can never live in harmony with, in mutual respect with, because I have defined them as bad. Breathe. I forgive myself for denying my own personal power. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that I have no power or that my power is limited. And breathe. I forgive myself for handing over my powers to others. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that I have no power. And breathe. I forgive myself for not believing that the point of power is always in me at each moment that I live. And I can choose what thoughts I will entertain and what thoughts I will remove. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that it is just a matter of time before I am tormented again. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that torment comes in cycles and seasons. Breathe. I forgive myself for believing that life is torment. And breathe. I forgive myself for all the inner secrets I hide and pretend don't exist. Breathe. I forgive myself for secretly hating and pretending to love. Breathe. I forgive myself for harrowing up hate, anger, and resentment, yet pretending to show kindness. Breathe. I forgive myself for believing that I can hide my little secrets and that they don't show. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that if I am honest with myself and others, my life will be tormented even more. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that I have to smother others with love in order to be loved. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing I can't love myself without approval of others first. And breathe. I forgive myself for suppressing my sadness so that others will love me. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing others have to love me before I can love myself. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that love is limited. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that indulgence is love. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that attention is love. And breathe. I forgive myself for not understanding what love really is. And breathe. I forgive myself for creating chaos so as to distract from my own self-loathing. And breathe. I forgive myself for cluttering up my mind with things that keep me in a state of perpetual pain. And breathe. I forgive myself for allowing the small things to occupy my mind and tear me down. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that life is pain and torment. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that life has to be a struggle in order to be rewarded. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that the more I struggle and endure pain and persecution, the greater my reward will be. I forgive myself for believing that I can manipulate life to shell out a huge reward for me by continually finding more ways for me to suffer. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that life is a rigid path, or else I fail. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that I can't fail at life. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that failure is not acceptable and will not be supported. And breathe. I forgive myself for believing that anyone who fails is unworthy to live. And breathe. I forgive myself for not believing that life ebbs and flows according to many different circumstances that are out of my control. Breathe. I forgive myself for misaligning myself with false beliefs, old ideas, and lack of integrity, instead of aligning with truth, courage, and love. And breathe. I forgive myself for trying to stand strong and true while dodging and avoiding true kindness and goodness. And breathe. I forgive myself for acting from a place of fear to avoid my responsibilities. And breathe. I forgive myself for resenting authority, even my own. And breathe. I forgive myself for being afraid to speak up for myself and others. And breathe. I forgive myself for speaking when overwhelmed by emotions. Breathe. I forgive myself for getting irritated, angry, and annoyed instead of harmonizing with the situation. And breathe. I forgive myself for giving up and allowing pain and hatred to grow and eat away at me. And breathe. I forgive myself for letting bitterness block the flow of joy in my life. And breathe. I forgive myself for being attracted to what everyone else is doing. Breathe. I forgive myself for gossiping and passing on negative stories and beliefs. Breathe. I forgive myself for being afraid to be different from the crowd. And breathe. I give myself permission to call up and transform, transmute, release, and remove all rejection of wisdom, refusal to know or understand, indecision, resentment and blame, misalignment with life and denial of my spiritual self, for the highest and greatest good of myself and others. Breathe. I now give myself permission to unblock both sides of the Huatuojiaji points of T3, opening and activating the flow of qi and information through T3, communicating freely with all parts of my body, mind, and spirit, and raising the quality of my thoughts. Breathe. I give myself permission to see the past, present, and future clearly and honestly. Breathe. I give myself permission to take responsibility for every aspect of creating the life that supports me and that I love. Breathe. I give myself permission to gain wisdom through joyfully accepting the experiences of life in all their diversity. And breathe. I give myself permission to release all that keeps me from seeing and hearing the truth. And breathe. Without inner chaos, deep old hurts, and the inability to communicate, I am free to align my life with my spiritual self and the energies of the universe. And when I'm aligned with truth and love, I am free to love life. Breathe. I am free to live safely and confidently. Breathe. I am free to live up to my birthright, to live a life fully and freely. Breathe. I am free to be loved. And breathe. I am free to choose to live life fully. Breathe. I am free to take in life in perfect balance. And breathe. I am free to have the capacity to take in the fullness that life has to give. Breathe. I am free to lovingly live life to the fullest. Breathe. I am free to lovingly release the past and turn my attention to this new day. Breathe. I am free to experience life and all is well. Breathe. I am free to be noticed and appreciated in the most positive ways. Breathe. I am free to love and be loved. And breathe. I am free to declare peace and harmony within me and around me. And breathe. I am free to love my life exactly how it is. And breathe. I am free to be totally centered on the love and joy of being alive right now. And breathe. I am free to flow with life. Breathe. free to have peace of mind. And breathe. I am free to take in the divine ideas that are filled with the breath and intelligence of life. Breathe. I am free to believe that this is a new moment. Breathe. I am free to believe that the world is safe and friendly. And breathe. I am free to feel safe at all times. Breathe. I am free to be at peace with life. And breathe. I am free to be one with all of life. And breathe. I am free to harmonize with all of life. And breathe. I am free to be safe now and for me to take charge of my own life. And breathe. I am free to choose to be free. And breathe. I am free to allow my mind to relax and be at peace. And breathe. I am free to experience clarity and harmony within me and around me. And breathe. I am free to love myself. And breathe. I am free to choose to see life as eternal and joyous. And breathe. I am free to see myself as eternal and joyous and at peace. And breathe. I am free to be supported by life. And breathe. I am free to be safe enough to be flexible in my mind. And breathe. I am free to release all fears. And breathe. I am free to now trust the process of life, and I am free to know that life is for me. And breathe. I am free to stand straight and tall with love and kindness. Breathe. And I am free to ask for what I want. And breathe. I am free to express myself and to be safe. And breathe. I am free to be at peace. And breathe. I am free to choose to be peaceful and harmonious. And breathe. I am free to lovingly forgive and release all of the past. And breathe. I am free to choose to fill my world with joy. And breathe. I am free to love and approve of myself. And breathe. I am free to lovingly allow joy to flow freely in my life. And breathe. I am free to experience life beyond group beliefs. And breathe. I am free to experience life beyond the cycle of seasons and schedules. And breathe. I am free from all congestion and influence of the environment around me. And breathe. I am free to live in harmony with all of my life experiences. And breathe. I am free to have the power, strength, and knowledge to handle everything in my life perfectly, aligned and supported in all things. Breathe. With the power of my divine consciousness, I now create connection and harmony with all things in myself and in my world in a way that inspires kindness, friendliness, honesty, and goodwill. And breathe. Flowing genuine love and sincere compassion to all that is in my range of influence. Freely offering connection from the brightest place of my heart. Take a long, deep breath and release all that does not align with truth. And I leave this blessing with you. May all that is unforgiven in you be released. May your fears yield their deepest tranquilities. And may all that is unlived in you blossom into a future graced with love. You are now creating huge new alignments, much stronger and more powerful beliefs, letting go of the stories of the past and creating new supportive and harmonious ones to manifest the peace, happiness, and calm that is divinely gifted to you at all times. So take this opportunity to smile and embrace the universe as you start making a positive difference in your world. Thank you.